Okay, well, we're sitting down in front of the little test lab coffee bar that you have set up here at Mavam, but I'm here with Mike, and I think what we want to just talk about is a little bit about your background, how Mavam started, because you guys have seen videos where we've shot at, we've been at Expo, it's like super hectic,
Yes.
but I wanted to just come here and sit down and talk a little bit more about your background and how all of this started, because to me, Mavam is one of, if not the last U.S. manufacturer, independently owned espresso machine maker here in the States, especially in Seattle, at least in the commercial space.
Correct.
So, very rare company to exist, small scale boutique, beautiful machines, and Mike is the guy who started it, and I wanted to just get that conversation going. So, if you can reintroduce yourself and tell people about your background and how you got into all of this.
Yeah, my name is Michael Myers, the killer, the comedian. But yeah, so I started I was born into the espresso machine industry, actually. My father was one of the first people to sell espresso machines in the Seattle area. He started the business importing machines from Italy. Was working in the restaurant industry at the time, and had us as kids, and wanted to do something amazing. So he got together some friends, and they started importing espresso machines. I think his friends kind of left him alone, and he started the business. He started a company called Mycolo, and back then there was only a few. I mean, pretty much all the major things for espresso machine distribution was happening in Seattle, San Francisco, and New York at the time. Mainly San Francisco and New York, and then Seattle kind of was the next player that came in. And he actually grew out to be one of the largest in the Seattle area. And the thing he always did is he always put service first. He always was similar to me. He was always doing everything himself. He was out wrenching on machines, trying to sell machines and do everything. And he built a team around him, and he grew his company. And he was fortunate enough to have one of the most popular machines at that time, La San Marco. And so he was the master distributor of La San Marco. And that was actually one of the most popular machines. It was the most popular machine in that industry. What happened with that company is he took on a lot of the bigger players, like Barnes & Noble was his biggest account, all the cruise ships and so on and so forth. And Barnes & Noble really taught us all a lot about business, putting all your eggs in one basket kind of thing, because that was our biggest company, and we kind of lived and breathed Barnes & Noble. But at that time they had, I think, 250 to 300 stores, all had traditional machines, 2 group to 3 group San Marcos, and training was hard for the baristas. And so at that point in time, they were looking for more automation, and so they went and requested that we find them automated solution. And so back then, my dad flew to Switzerland, Italy, and checked out all the machines available on the market and found a super automatic machine that was actually suitable for their needs. And we tested everything. Of course, everything worked perfect for the first couple of months, to the point where in Barnes & Noble, we did training labs. This is when I first started working with my dad. We actually flew out and installed all the machines in New York, Miami, LA, and all their busiest locations. Super automatics worked flawlessly for the first 3 to 6 months, and then to the point where they signed the contract for replacing all of their 2 group, 3 group machines for super automatics. So I grew up in the trenches of dealing with bigger chains throughout the country, and the funny thing is no one knew how to work on espresso machines. And so that was kind of my task, because I would go, and even with the 2 groups and 3 groups, kind of backtracking is, answering calls in Tyler, Texas for a technician. And then you're trying to find, okay, who do I know in Tyler, Texas that can work on an espresso machine?
Okay.
And so it was us literally, back then we didn't have the internet or anything like we did. So it was figuring out, calling up companies and figuring out how do we find a technician in Tyler, Texas. So we call refrigeration companies a lot of times, HVAC. And we trained, I'd fly out and train, or they'd come to our facility, so that was kind of our whole thing. But yeah, so from then, everything turned into super autos, and that was a whole different world, because then you're asking people to work on a very specialized piece of equipment. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got my start. My father, putting service first, it allowed him to get some of the bigger chains, because, we always took care of our equipment. Mm-hmm. And that's still to Mavam's day. It's like, if you have a problem, that's our primary focus, is making sure you're taken care of.
Yeah. So how did you decide to start your own company? I mean, you were working on all these machines for all these years. You grew up around them. You learned the ins and outs. How does one suddenly say, okay, I'm going to go from working on these machines to making my own?
Yeah, it was probably when the engineers in Switzerland told me that the problems I was experiencing have never happened anywhere else. And that's when then I went and actually visited the factory of the engineers telling me that, and they were all, dressed very nicely. I've never actually, you can tell they've never actually worked on a piece of equipment. I'm like, okay, I understand. You know, so kind of understanding that like in the trenches is where stuff, you figure out solutions and problems. So the reason I want to build a machine is I want to build a machine that eliminates the normal wear and tear components of the espresso machines market. So, you know, all espresso machines have, when I grew up repairing, you know, San Marco, they had these things that wore out every 3 months, and then they had rear seals that would fail every 6 months, and then your steam on gas would fail every 3 months. So I spent my whole life changing gaskets, underrated gaskets and seals. Now I understand that's where all these manufacturers make their money, because I created a machine that's completely seal-free and valve, you know, and we don't have the maintenance return on revenue.
Okay.
But that's good. That was the whole point of the company, is to remove the normal wear and tear items of the machine.
What year was that? Like when you started?
The late 90s.
Late 90s. Okay. And then Mavam came around in around
2015 is
So
how I
2015?
started.
Okay.
So I started building machines in 2010 officially.
Okay.
So I did 5 years of research and development building
Okay.
machines before I ever started my company. So
Okay. And then what does Mavam mean? Like, how did you come up with this name?
Mavam comes from the word maven, so it's like a journeyman, somebody who's done something for a long time and passes knowledge on to others. And so that's, yeah.
Okay. And then right now, in the past kind of, 10 years, you're coming up on 10 years, you know, what did it look like back in 2015 or when you released the first machine versus now?
Yeah, I mean, very similar, just time just flies, just dreaming, you know, just wanting to build the best machines and put out products and always innovate. And so even back then, just innovation like crazy, and it really hasn't stopped. You know, we're still creating new products and not stopping. So that's kind of like what keeps everything moving. It's just the passion, you know. And once you lose the passion, it's over. But like we're still super passionate. Everybody here is. And so what has changed? Stress.
Yeah. Well, you know, small business, right? You survived through COVID, right?
Yes.
It's like now it's kind of in this, you know, post-COVID world. And, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit about the product line, because I think really where a lot of what you're saying, you can see this in the actual products, right? The actual machines. So what was the first machine you made?
The first machine we made, it was two machines we made at the same time. So we created an under-counter machine and a countertop machine simultaneously. So it was the under-counter. You know, I met my original business partner, Terry, and we had two machines. You know, he was the one who told me that I was in there in my little shop just perfecting. At that point in time, my family business was suffering, and my dad actually let me go and fired me. And I'll never forget that. I went and called one of my best friends up on Capitol. He had a shop in Capitol Hill, and let me move into one of his little studio spaces. And I put all my stuff in the back of my truck and moved it there. And I was just tinkering away, you know, just trying to figure out what to do next. And that's when I met Terry. And Terry kind of was the first person that came and said, hey, like, you just got to go. You got to bring this market. And I think after meeting Terry within the first month, we had opened the door and showcased both machines. And pretty much the industry told me which machine they wanted. We launched our Mach 1 and our undercounter, and everybody was just all about the undercounter. So I'm like, okay, there's the machine, you know?
Yeah, because I believe you were the first to think of any of this like countersunk, under-counter type of machine, right?
I can say I thought about it before it, but I'm not the first to launch. Mod Bar was before us.
Okay. I think, you know, a lot of us, we see the Mavam and we're like, oh, that's the Mavam, right? Yeah. So under a counter. And I want to talk a little bit about why you're doing this in the States, right? You're doing a lot of the manufacturing, a lot of the building all here, and you haven't really done any sort, like, you know, you're not outsourcing, you're not doing any of that, and you're still one of the independently owned ones. Like, what kind of is the thought behind that? Like, why have you decided to, you know, a lot of people have changed and expanded and gone different routes. Like, what is?
Yeah, we're all about, you know, building a community and network. I mean, how passionate is to your friends be able to make parts for you and know that they're supporting their families from the business that you're creating, you know. And you know, seeing like the wiring harnesses we make. There's a whole company that makes our wiring harnesses, you know, and they have multiple employees that just are dedicated to making our harnesses. And Shippers and Ballard does all of our soldering through, you know, our major soldering for all of our PCB boards, you know, and they have a whole team that's doing that for us. So just seeing that the sheer network of how you're building a continuing a manufacturing community, which is really special about Seattle, is it is born on manufacturing, through Boeing and so on and so forth. And we have all the resources here to manufacture and continue to utilize that. We have plating, we have, like we're talking about, anodizing. We have all the things that, because of Boeing, are available at our fingertips in Seattle. And we have some of the best machinists and sheet metal manufacturers here. So for me, I have such pride for Seattle, born and raised here, that I couldn't not utilize our special talents that we have in the city.
Because if you come to the shop and you see it's like, this is, it's assembled here, all the parts, we just drove to his friend's shop, and it's like the parts are made there, and it's local manufacturing, which is incredibly difficult to do. Or, not even local manufacturing, but now manufacturing in the United States is just, it's going away. And I think this is, very hard. It's a very difficult topic to talk about. It's like, oh my God, we got to make the machine, you got to keep the lights on, you still have to grow the business, but then you are hit with all these different costs from manufacturing, right? It's crazy difficult to build a business nowadays, especially around, making a physical product that exists and has moving parts and all of that.
Correct.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little and talk more about entrepreneurship, running your own business, because, you seem to kind of, a lot of things have happened to you, and then you're like, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. And how has, when you started, how many people were there? You had a business partner, and now how many people are currently at Mavam?
There's 10 of us at Mavam currently. And so we started, this is the biggest we've ever been, but we're all about keeping a small team and keeping, trying to do the best we can with our machines. We're not trying to be the biggest company. We just want to build, boutique machines at a high level and be able to support our customers the best we can.
Like, how has the business been doing across the last 10 years?
Yeah,
right?
it's been interesting because we are such a small company. One thing I'm very prideful of, and I guess I don't even looking back, I don't even realize it, but we 100% bootstrapped this. So when I wasn't making a lot of money as a service technician, I wasn't crushing it. So being able to start a business and know that you don't need money to start a business I think that's one of the coolest things that's been about this company. It's just not having money to put into like massive budget for machining and stuff. You really take pride in each product you make or part you make, because basically these machines were made one part at a time. It's the group head was the centerpiece. We made the group head first, and I remember going to every single machine shop in Seattle saying, hey, will you make me this part? No, we don't have time for you. We don't have time for you. And when they do, it'll be like, oh yeah, there'll be more money that I had in my savings account to even make. So that was so cool. That's why I'm so prideful for like the partners I have made. It's like, once you believed in me, you made me this part, now you're my guy, So going back to that, so that's been interesting to do it the way we've done it. I love that fact, like, and that's still the same way we manufacture our machines now. Is we have, each machine, since we are still on a limited budget to bring a super automatic from scratch to market. It's like it's tough. So if you have to make sure that all those parts are, spend the extra time making sure that they're as good as possible. Obviously, especially with a super auto, it's a beast. It's tough.
The realities of just small scale manufacturing, right? It is very, very difficult to pull off what you've done, right? And it's just when you talk about, like, we've done some of these videos with other founders, and it's like the same thing. It's like, you want to get the part made? Well, yeah, you will do it, but you need 5,000 of these. So MLQ, right? And the thing that I've been seeing still is that there are still some of those smaller independent shops, machine shops that are down to say, okay, we will support you, and it's really that relationship building that kind of it's a symbiotic relation, right? Like, you are building something, but you're really good buddies with the machine shop that's providing you the parts, and in today's world, that's so hard to do. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what it comes back to why we keep everything in American, because it's all relationships, and I'd be crushed to not continue those. So.
What's kind of on the horizon? You have 3 very distinctive product lines, different machines. What's kind of next?
Yeah, for us right now, it's getting better at business.
It's hard, always hard thing.
Transferring from an inventor, product developer into more of a CEO role. It's been really fun. We're, like I said, we're moving into a new facility, which is great. It's kind of like the reboot, restart. Systemizing everything, SOPs for everything. So I'm not the only one that knows all the knowledge.
Yeah.
That's been kind of our focus for the last couple of years, and it's been working out very well. In the horizons, we're updating all of our product lines, so just making everything better. We have obviously always creating new products. I can't share too much, but yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot coming out. Our biggest thing is we're coming up on 10 years in business, which is great. It's a milestone for us, and just really want to focus on what we have and making everything we have the best it can possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already kind of seeing some updates, right? Like we got the 110 Mach 2 single groove, right? I don't know, high end home, man. I've been telling you for years, high end home. Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of us who want these in our houses, but well, that's I'm getting one in my house, so that's like how it is. But yeah, it's just an incredible story, right? Starting a espresso machine company, right? That is like, if you look at the history of a lot of these espresso manufacturers, right? People have been around for 100 years, right? You probably are still the youngest, around the youngest for commercial. Things have been going well. You're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the business, and you're still manufacturing and building everything here in Seattle, and that is incredible. So I really just wanted to put this out there, right, and highlight Mike's story, because you just you don't see this anymore, right? It's so hard. If you wanted to start today, it'd probably be very difficult in today's landscape. So yeah.
I mean, I think my only advice to anybody, if they want to listen, is if you're passionate about something, just do it and don't stop, because there's going to be always roadblocks, people saying things, and just don't listen to the noise and keep grinding, because you're not going to have money. But for some reason, if you just keep grinding, it always comes. All of a sudden, you're about to not be able to make payroll, and somebody orders a machine.
Yeah.
We're a little bit past that now, but like this kind of the up and downs of business. And it's just believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And good things happen.
But yeah, if you guys were interested in starting a coffee shop or anything like that, I personally, I love the Mavams. The one thing that's really cool is that you can get them very customized. You can get them in very different, different colors, different finishes, anodizations, all of that. And that finishing and that's all done here locally too. So it's very, very cool to, have basically this relationship with a manufacturer, and that's something you can get if you pick up a Mavam. And that's really what I'm after nowadays when I look at the machines I buy and the products that I use is, what is a relationship that I can have with the manufacturer, right? Is it made, can I know the tech that is working on my machine? Can I know the founder, right? Things like that. And that's very valuable to me as a consumer. So, I just wanted to add that in there. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video, listening to Mike's story.
I appreciate it.
I love showing this off. So, and thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool.